what's going on, everybody? I'm Noah from PhoneDog.com, and this is the Samsung Memoir for T-Mobile, the first 8-megapixel camera phone to launch in the US on a US carrier. You can see it right there, 8 megapixels of camera phone goodness. On the front here, the wallpaper is a photo I took using the Memoir. I've had the phone for a few days now. You know how this stuff goes. Sometimes we get the phones and we try to just do a review as quickly as possible and get it up. Other times we get it a few days ahead of time. There's what's called an embargo, which means we're not allowed to post about it until a certain time. That was the case with Memoir, so I've had a few days to play with it. And I can tell you basically two things. This is the best camera phone currently available on a US camera. I don't think it's quite good enough yet to totally ditch your standalone digital camera. It's good, but except for megapixel count, I don't think it's significantly better than the Moto Zine ZN5, a 5 megapixel camera phone also on T-Mobile. It's definitely better than the Samsung Behold, but it's got a couple of issues still. Photo quality is generally pretty good. The flash is a little anemic. You put this thing next to a standalone digital camera and you pop the flashes, and the flash on a regular digital camera much stronger than the one on the Behold. Other than that, photo quality generally pretty good. I'm not a professional photographer. We're going to try to get our friend Dr. Photo to take a closer look at it. But the photo quality, a little bit better than the Behold for sure. I would say about on par with the Moto Zine ZN5, but more megapixels here. You also get 720 by 480 video capture, which is nice. And you get 3G compatibility. It's a resistive touchscreen, not a capacitive touchscreen, so it's pretty good. Not the best ever, but pretty good. You get 3G, no Wi-Fi, and you get Samsung's slightly upgraded TouchWiz interface. Anyway, let's take a closer look. Again, it's launching for $249 with a 2-year contract at launch time on T-Mobile. I'm not saying throw away the digital camera just yet, but if you want the best camera phone possible on a US branded carrier, this is it. If you don't care about it being branded on a US carrier, you're willing to pay a little more for an unlocked phone. There are a few others from T-Mobile, from Sony Ericsson and Nokia that you might want to take a look at before you put down your money for the Memoir. But it's one thing for me to talk. As they say, a picture says 1,000 words. So let's take a look at the phone and a few photos I snapped with it.
Oh, and before I forget, go play our game, The One Pod Bandit. Why? Because it's free and you can win stuff. You can win a cell phone or you can win an iPod Touch. You can play, I think, 10 times a day, 5 on PhoneDog and 5 on Facebook. It's free. It's easy to invite your friends. Go over to PhoneDog.com, click the Win tab on the top of the page, and you can play.
All right, so the Memoir is in many ways like the Behold, but it's a thicker phone because it's got higher quality optics in it. The optics in this camera phone are definitely better than the Behold. The Behold was a little bit disappointing. The 8-megapixel camera with autofocus and xenon flash on the Memoir, definitely a little bit better. And it's got a nice, it looks more like a camera on the backside. The Behold looked more like a thin phone with a camera. This looks more like, that camera phone thing where on the one side you've got your phone and the other side you've got your camera. You've got, your dedicated camera button, your lock switch, your rocker switch up there on top. The rocker switch can be used also for zooming when you're taking photos and also when you're browsing the web. You've got a little lanyard slot there so you can hang on to the thing. You've got a proximity sensor on the front. On the other side, micro SD card slot comes with a 1 megabyte micro SD card. And it also includes an SD card adapter, which is, a little 20-cent part, but kind of nice, makes it easier to get your photos and videos off of the phone and onto your computer. It's got the Samsung proprietary jack, so this works with the stereo headset and the AC adapter, both of which are included, of course. And there you go. The battery is underneath. You use this little button to pop the back cover off. Kind of this faux leather thing on the side here, and then a soft touch rubber. The screen, like I said, is a resistive touchscreen, not capacitive. Works pretty well. It's a little bit grippy. Seems to be pretty durable, though. I haven't had any problems in the few days I've been using it, getting it scratched or anything. I've had it in my pocket. It's been fine. 3 hard keys on the bottom. There's your call key, back, and your end key, which also doubles as your power. It's the TouchWiz interface. You can see up there it's 3G. No Wi-Fi, but it's 3G on T-Mobile's 3G network. So make sure that you have 3G coverage, because T-Mobile's network isn't as extensive as some of the other carriers in the U.S. Here's the TouchWiz interface. A few new widgets and some stuff branded to T-Mobile. You can see there. I didn't mean to hit that to hit the browser widget. So, it's not as responsive as the best touchscreens out there, but definitely, more than usable. You get used to it. You can flick, you can go through things. There's an IM widget. There's a photo widget here that launches a bunch of your, so this will take you to your photo album, or if you go from the touchscreen and you drag the photo widget out, then you can click through your photos on the front, and you can, you can view one larger, or you can send it off in a letter to yourself. It's always good to sing Steely Dan while you're waiting for the photo to resize. That photo is an 8 megapixel photo, so it's got to take a second to resize there. So, I can send it in an MMS message or a text message, or I can email it off as well. We'll get out of there. We won't save. And then with the TouchWiz, you can grab your widgets, you can drag them back to the dock there. Samsung launched a widget store kind of thing, downloadable widgets over in Europe. Nothing about that just yet in the U.S. Looking forward to that. The weather widget's kind of nice. You can have your weather on your home screen there. It's we finally got a non-rainy day here in Oaktown. And then you can get the 3-day forecast, which is kind of cool. So that's a nice little widget. Other widgets to take you, to Bluetooth and the other things that you often use. So you can click down to the main menu, and in the main menu, you can do, all your different things. Audio postcard, which is what T-Mobile is calling MMS messaging for some reason. I'm not really sure why. We'll take a look at, videos. We'll show you in a minute the actual video capture quality, but here's a sample video that came with the phone. Video quality is pretty good, not as large of a screen or as high quality as some of the phones out there, but definitely passable, definitely usable.
The Memoir offers 720 by 480 video capture at 30 frames per second. To test it out, I'm actually recording this part of the video using the Memoir. Granted, the video that you're watching has been edited, compressed, uploaded, and streamed over the web, but I processed it and did all that stuff the same way I do all my video footage no matter what camera I use. So you can compare for yourself. The part of this review before this section and the part after this was shot with my regular camcorder. This part right now with the Memoir. How's the quality? You be the judge.
A funny thing happened on the way to making this review between myself and the Memoir's web browser. I got a tip from a reader who somehow had gotten a hold of a Memoir before they came out, that the Memoir was suffering from the same fate as the Samsung T-Mobile Behold T919, a 5 megapixel camera phone that came out a few months ago. Namely, even though T-Mobile and Samsung were advertising the phone as having a full HTML browser with the real web experience, the phone was actually set up to run through T-Mobile's new Web2Go proxy servers. And instead of showing full HTML, it was showing something kind of in between WAP formatted and real HTML. And you could tell because there was a telltale magenta bar at the top of the screen that showed kind of anchor tag links to things. Well, this is kind of interesting. When I first got the Memoir, took it out of the box, I had a couple days to play with it before I was allowed to post my review. So I went to the web browser, loaded it up, and sure enough, I was getting the magenta bar. Or in some cases, I wasn't even getting the website at all. For instance, this site that you might have heard of wouldn't show up. I was getting a proxy server error. A few other sites I looked at had a magenta bar. In fact, if you go to our site, phonedog.com, and you go to the blog, a couple days ago I posted a blog based on the information that the reader sent, using some of his or her photos as well of various websites, including PhoneDog, showing up with the magenta bar and that kind of thing. Anyway, I ran the Behold web browser hack, which you can also read about on PhoneDog if you're interested, and routed the web browser through a different server, not the T-Mobile Web2Go proxy server. Everything worked fine. I got full HTML, and I was happy because it's actually a pretty decent web browser for a feature phone. Well, for doing this review, I decided to set the phone back to the way it came out of the box and try it again. And wouldn't you know it, now the full HTML is working. So I don't know if the voice of you, the readers, and you, mystery dear reader, whoever you are who sent in the breaking news, quote-unquote, about the Memoir browser not being full HTML, I don't know if the people at T-Mobile and Samsung heard you, or I don't know if they were just setting up their servers still. Whatever the case it may be, I'm getting full HTML now. And like I said, it's pretty good. It's not quite Apple Safari or Opera class, but definitely for a feature phone, it's a nice web browser. It's full HTML. You can see it's rendering PhoneDog's page pretty faithfully. You saw the zoom functionality. You can use the rocker switch on top to zoom in and out of pages. And all in all, pretty good. Our top bar doesn't quite go all the way across like it does on the desktop, but really not a bad job. It's got the built-in accelerometer, it'll auto-rotate your pages, and then you can click the little menu there, and you can favorite things, you can go full screen, you can go back home, you can save images or copy your URL to email it to somebody, all that kind of stuff. So all in all, for a feature phone, definitely not a bad browser, and T-Mobile's 3G service, if you can get it where you live, definitely helps. You can see where I am right now, I've only got Edge, but in other parts of the Bay Area, I've been on 3G, and the speeds definitely are pretty good. Call quality's been fine. Haven't had any real problems with it, but not the clearest ever, but definitely it's been good. No complaints with the call quality thus far. We'll go to messaging, so you can see messaging on the phone, because people always want to see that. So you create message, you tap, and you can go full QWERTY style with the widescreen. Or you can, it's got an accelerometer, so you rotate back and you can go T9 style. So it's nice to be able to switch back and forth between the different modes. You can also go handwriting recognition. Hey, look at that, it's an H. It recognized it. Terrific. And then when you're in your messaging, you can add your different stuff in and all that stuff. It's got support for email. It's T-Mobile's Java-powered email app, which isn't the best thing ever, but it'll get the job done. Although, well, no, we've got Gmail in there, so there you go. Also support for mobile IM, AIM, ICQ, Windows Live, and Yahoo. And we will take you now to the web browser. All right, so back to the camera. This is a photo I took at night with the flash on. I was out in the balcony of somebody's house, and they had a plant out there, so I did a close-up photo. Came out pretty well. Basically, it's a really good camera phone. It's one of the best camera phones out there. I don't quite think it's up to the standard where you're going to ditch your standalone photo or standalone camera just yet. You can see, the quality's pretty good. These are some shots I took recently. You can flick through your photos. There's a little bit of lag once in a while. There's a shot I took at night, but that was from kind of far away across the lake. That was with the flash on. Definitely got some glare off of the shiny espresso machine there. Some more photos. There's a pie. There's an outdoor shot. We'll take a look at some of them now. Oh, there's Max. What's up, Max? That's my friend's dog with his raincoat, her raincoat on, rather. Anyway, so photo quality definitely good. We'll take a look at some of the photos. I'll put them into the video now so you can see. So, the megapixel race is heating up in camera phone land, and it's not all about megapixels. More is not necessarily better. Image quality counts a ton. The Pixon, this is based off of the Pixon, so I wanted to call it that. The Memoir definitely steps it up over the Behold, Samsung and T-Mobile's last camera phone, in two key areas. Megapixels, it's got 8 instead of 5, but more importantly, the image quality is better. It's a thicker phone, but it's not all that thick, and the thickness is due to the fact that you've got better camera optics in here. Is it, it's going to take the place of your digital SLR? Definitely not. Is it going to take the place of your standalone point-and-shoot digital camera? Honestly, that depends. If you're kind of a casual photographer, you're mostly, you're not all that concerned about being able to capture the best quality photos everywhere, but you want to have something that takes photos with enough megapixels that you can print them out, it might definitely be a good choice for you. Then again, the 5-megapixel MotoZine ZN5, like I said, might also be a good choice. That's worth checking out. If you're kind of a hard, more hardcore photographer, you might be a little bit disappointed. The flash strength could be a little bit better, and I think, on some of the images, the color quality, that kind of stuff might not be exactly what you're expecting. Then again, I'm not a hardcore photographer, so I didn't mess around with the settings enough to really know. I've only had the phone for a couple days. I need to check out all the other features. So we're going to get some more time with this. And, you tell us, if you got this camera, if you're a big-time photographer, let us know what you think. Hit us up in the phonedog.com forums and tell us what you think of the performance. That aside, all in all, it's definitely a pretty nice phone. I think TouchWiz needs some work still. I think Samsung's menu system, their UI, is looking kind of outdated. The functionality of TouchWiz is cool, but, the Apples and the Androids and the HTCs and now the Palms of the world are really stepping it up with integrated messaging and lots of eye candy and all that stuff, and the Samsung UI is starting to look a little bit dated. So hopefully they can do a visual refresh on top of the increasingly good functionality they've got happening with TouchWiz. Otherwise, 3G, no Wi-Fi, $249 on contracts, a little steep for a launch price, but probably pretty soon you can find it cheaper. PhoneDog.com has shopping tools, rate finders, plan finders, phone finders, all that, so maybe you can find it cheaper there. At any rate, there you go, 8 megapixels on a US carrier. It's a first, and all in all, definitely, a thumbs up, but the hardcore photographers out there, don't throw away your digital camera just yet, all right? It's the Samsung Memoir T929 for T-Mobile. I'm Noah from PhoneDog.com. Much more on this and all the other crazy camera phones out there on PhoneDog.com. We'll see you later.